Hey everyone, so we just finished our final run in the Saucony Triumph 19. It was a 10-mile run today. Pretty hot outside. It's going to be really hot this weekend, so I decided to get my long run out of the way just a day early. And I've also done two more difficult runs, I guess, over the last 2 days, or higher paced runs. So when I went in today's run, my legs were a little bit fatigued. It was hot out, and that really got my heart pumping. The second half was pretty difficult. My legs felt pretty tired from the days before. And you know, all in all, it was a tough run, but it gave me everything I needed to know about this Saucony Triumph 19. So let's get right into my final thoughts on this shoe. First things first, like all my reviews, it's coming from my perspective as a 240-pound guy, with the exception of I'm down about 8 pounds still after a liter of water and a large Gatorade. I'm down at like 232 pounds still after all the sweat that came out of me today. Nonetheless, it's, you know, again, a bigger guy who's reviewing this shoe, so just keep that in mind, and I like to give that perspective about what works for me and what I think would also then apply to generally everybody else who's out there running. So it's got a mono mesh upper. Let's start there. A nice breathable upper. Even though it was hot today, I gotta say it's not too filled with sweat. It was able to, you know, just let that evaporate away. Even on a pretty humid day, my foot felt like I was always able to breathe. And it's almost like a stripped down version of something like Asics or Mizuno. Some of those shoes that are up around like 12 ounces, but will go on for 1,000, 2,000 miles. This is kind of similar, just a little bit more stripped down. You'll see it's got a very plush tongue, but not too much so, and it's got this semi-gusseted area over here that holds the tongue in, but you'll see behind the semi-gusseted area it really just goes right to that mono mesh upper, which again overall just keeps the weight down. It's still not the lightest shoe, but it keeps things lighter while still being plush and comfortable in some of the areas that I think really matter. It's got a pretty plush heel collar all around your foot here. Pretty firm when you go below just this little heel tab. There's no pull tab on the back, unfortunately, but again, this is a very stiff area. I can put all my force into here and this will not bend forward. So they've got that 3D cup to help hold your foot in place and give you a little bit of stability across the upper part of your foot and your heel. So with that, then you got pretty classic laces, pretty classic lacing system, plenty of reinforced area around here. Again, just bringing the weight a little bit up, but also bringing that durability of this shoe up. I'm sure it's going to go on for miles and miles and miles as well. So I mentioned it's a little bit of a stripped down version of those really big workhorse shoes. It comes in at 10.2 ounces in a men's size 9, and it gives you 32.5 millimeters of stack height in the heel with 24.5 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. So again, that brings things down a little bit lower, not quite as high as a lot of the long run shoes and things you'll see today, but again, it keeps the weight down just a bit for how much is still going on in this shoe. Now let's jump into the midsole. It's a Power Run Plus midsole. This is a midsole foam that in my opinion, is pretty bouncy, but still firm. It's not something that you're gonna feel the road really, even though you have that lower stack height in the front of your foot. You know, you can see that I can push my finger into it just a little bit, but you really get a nice springy feeling from it. I can almost kind of fold the shoe in this way and it wants to pop right back just because, again, the outsole rubber has those slits, so it lets me bend it a little bit. So it's a soft ride, not really plush, I'd say, but soft enough that I could put in, you know, 10 to 15 miles in the shoe and I wouldn't be uncomfortable. I wouldn't be feeling the road again, even at my weight. The lower stack height is still sustainable for me to go on a longer run. I would just say that there's really nothing about this shoe that propels me forward. You know, it really puts out what you put in. So if you're starting to get tired like I was today, I wouldn't say by any means this shoe is going to keep pushing me forward, keeping me, you know, springy or on the front of my foot. I'm really going to have to still do the work myself and just keep working through those miles, and it's going to give me a comfortable ride to do that. Now, if we take a look at the outsole, which I showed you just a little bit, it's got a pretty durable outsole. They call it an XT900 outsole. It's essentially a full rubber outsole. There's a few strategic slits in here that are pretty deep. You can see, you know, my finger goes in quite a bit, and those grooves are probably just for some weight cutting and might also give you just a little bit of spring back, just kind of like the Nova Blast. If you think about that channel that's carved into it, it helps create a little bit of a trampoline effect with that foam. So possibly, you know, part of the reason that they have that, but I really think it's to keep weight down overall, and you know, you don't feel anything funny with that part of the shoe missing. And by no means is this rubber going to wear through anytime soon. I'm sure the outsole itself is going to get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles before, you know, it really wears down into that Power Run Plus foam. Now this shoe does have a removable liner for the inside of your footbed. It's pretty comfortable overall. It's more substantial than something like Hoka. You know, I've complained about the Carbon X2, I think. So a little bit more robust than some, but it's all coming from that Power Run foam in the midsole. Now, as far as the fit and lockdown, I do think I have a little bit of a wider foot. This shoe does come or is available in a wide size. However, this is the normal size shoe, and I felt like I still had a decent amount of room. Now, I'm not a, you know, mandatory have to go with a wide every day. I can still wear shoes like the Vaporfly, the 4%, you know, Alpha Fly. I usually wear a 12.5 in those shoes. This one, or really any Saucony shoe, I do go up to a 13 to give me a little extra width, but overall I would say my foot is the appropriate length from the top of the shoe, and I just have, you know, a little extra room around my foot, where if I didn't tie these laces tight enough, I might be swimming and shifting just a little bit, causing blisters. So if you have a wider foot, if you prefer a wide toe box, you know, by no means am I saying this is like an ultra shoe, but if you prefer that something that edges on that side of a wider forefoot and toe box, this might get you enough room, might be a good shoe to try on if you have a bigger foot and you don't want to go up to a wide. But for me, again, it worked. I didn't get any blisters today over 10 miles. I just needed to make sure that I really tightened it just enough in the front to really hug my foot down. And once I did that tightening of the laces, you know, I wasn't moving at all. The plush heel collar and the plusher tongue really held my foot in very nicely and very comfortable, even though I was uncomfortable today overall for the whole 10 miles. So getting down to the last things I'll say about this shoe, the platform of the shoe and the outsole itself is very flat. Again, you can really ignore this groove that's in the midsole. It feels very stable on the back part of your heel when you're standing, if you're running at a slower pace or walking. It doesn't feel unstable or like there's too much of the arch or anything cut out of the shoe. Pretty wide toe box even on the bottom, so again, just creates a nice stable landing. You don't feel uncomfortable at all when you're running slow or fast or at any pace in this shoe. As far as the stability and just the way your foot plants nicely on the ground, it can accommodate just about any stride and you know, forefoot heel strike, anything like that overall. What would I use this for? For me, it's probably going to be like my little middle distance run shoe, probably also as one of my daily trainers. I wouldn't say it's soft enough if I really want a recovery day or something like the Nike Zoom X Invincible. You know, that shoe is just a little bit more plush, a little more soft, and will just pad my joints and knees and everything if I need that kind of a day. But if I'm doing anything from like 5, 6 to 12 miles, I could break this shoe out and see it being very comfortable. I don't know if it would be my first choice for something up to, say, a 20-mile run, just because, again, that's a little bit of a lower stack height for me personally because of my weight. But I think for a lot of people that are down under 200 pounds, this could definitely be an option if you just like a shoe that you get out there and you can do any bit of miles in it. And it's not a bad shoe also to just wear casually once you're done if you're going somewhere else. Now, what I will also say is I have a really nice stretch of buffed out trail. You know, it's like a sand and a dirt that's really packed down. I could do 20 miles on that in this shoe because you have a little bit of that extra softness from the ground that you're landing on. If I was doing it on pavement, again, for me and my weight, I probably wouldn't take this up to 15 to 20 miles myself. I think if everything that I've said really sounds like it's going to fit your running style or what you need out of a running shoe, then by all means, I really like this shoe. It's still a great pickup. For me, it was actually a bargain of only $50. So that's the reason that I got it, and I'm very happy with it at that price point. But there's a lot of other Saucony shoes out there. The whole Endorphin lineup has really a daily trainer, a speed day, and a race day shoe built into it. So that's exactly like what I described, where you just want a stable base, you know, not too high of a platform or stack height so you're not wobbling around, little bit of plushness around the tongue and the collar, but you still like to keep it down around 10 ounces. You know, this could be a great shoe for you, so keep that in mind when you're out there shopping. So those are all my thoughts on the Saucony Triumph 19. Thanks for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up for making it this far, and I hope to see you all in the next video.